The Cohasset Select Board meeting of Tuesday, January 21st at 7:01 PM. This meeting is being held at 91 Sawyer Street, Wilcox Commons in person. You can also watch it virtually. Details are on the back page of the agenda. You can watch it on Zoom or Facebook Live or on Cohasset 143T. Roll call, please. Mr. Grady,
Paul, excuse me, I'm sorry, Paul Grady, present.
Mr. Creighton,
Jack Creighton, present.
Ellen Mar, present. Yep, right. Everyone to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is there any public comment? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. If you would come up and sit at the chair, please, name and address for the record.
My name is Suzanne Philby. I live at 134 North Main Street in Cohasset. And I'm here tonight because just about a week ago, town residents were invited to come to the library to discuss town issues. As a result of that, I'm on a committee that's looking at reinstatement of the boutique. I know you guys have all. Sorry, that's my phone. I know you guys have probably already discussed this, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. We would like to be a help towards this effort by doing some of the footwork that you probably don't have time to do. We plan on visiting other swap sheds, looking at the feasibility of using volunteers. Oh my God. That's my husband. I don't know why he's.
Tell-
How are you gonna
You
ignore
tell,
him?
you tell him.
Jeez. And of course, looking at reviewing the costs and being cognizant of how that affects our residents. I'm here tonight because there was some talk about a new plan being developed to look at the new construction and possibly building due to the fire. If that is so, we'd like to know if there's a drop dead deadline that we would have to get our findings to you.
Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, so it's not on our agenda, so we can't really deliberate about it. We thank you for your comments, and the town is working with the insurance company, to see what is rebuildable, and they're looking at other options for the RTF that may or may not enhance the overall consumer experience up there. I'm sure when there's information ready for us, Mr. Senior and his staff will present it to us.
Okay.
So it'll be on an agenda, so keep keep your eyes open on the agenda.
So would that be a good time for us to come and present any data that we've gathered?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So reach out to Tracy, and who's in Mr. Senior's office. And if we can work it into the presentation, we will. If we feel like we have to have it offline, as a
Okay.
separate item, we'll let you know.
All right, that would be great.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Plex is here. Okay, so next up are license permits and events. The first is a pledge of collateral and pledge of inventory for Whiskey Wine Cohasset Inc. Is there anyone here from Whiskey Wine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hi, this is Attorney John Moradian, Democus Law Offices, on behalf of Whiskey and Wine Cohasset Incorporated. We've applied for amendment of the liquor license for a pledge of the license to Mechanics Cooperative Bank. They refinanced corporate debt, and we need the license as collateral for the loan.
okay. is this an amendment, Chris, to the license, or is this just a pledge of collateral?
Pledge.
It's a pledge. Okay, so is Attorney Lamke on, Kevin? No. Okay, so I spoke with someone who used to be at ABCC because I didn't understand a lot of this. And this is actually a pledge of the liquor license and the corporate stock and or inventory to obtain a business loan. And that's all that this really is. And as a licensing authority, it is in our purview to grant this pledge. And all of the materials were in our packet. It's the first one I've seen since I've been on the board. Have there been others?
Rare, I think it was one.
There hasn't been in my time here.
Okay,
However, we have another one. Two more that are coming through.
2 more pledges.
Yeah, for
Okay.
different,
Okay,
yeah. So,
okay.
Jim, I did put a memo in there. Did you see? the
Yeah,
memo?
from Jim.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yep. Does anyone have any questions? No, no questions? Okay. All right, so I will entertain a motion. Chris, correct me if I don't state this properly, to allow the pledge of the liquor license, corporate stock and or inventory for whiskey wine to secure a loan related to its licensed business. Can I have a motion? Can someone move that, please?
So
Can
moved.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Inebri Art LLC Arts and Craft on the Green Saturdays, beginning in April, going through October. Looks like 1 Saturday a month. We had the application in our packet. Is Chief on for this?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, Chief.
Hi. Hey, I don't, this is a new event and this was born from Cassandra Thayer. We approached, the town approached this group to come to Cohasset and run like an arts fair, similar to the farmer's market on, one day a week throughout the summer. There was one conflicting date that conflicts with the Art Center, the Arts Fest. So I don't know if Tracy removed that or not, but it was towards the end of June on the application.
Yeah, we have June 14th, then July 12th.
The 14th would have to scrap it for that week
Okay,
because
okay.
of the Arts Center,
okay.
the Arts Fest. But I've spoken with the organizer and it's
Yeah.
very low impact event.
Oh, you're here?
Oh,
Oh,
okay, perfect.
All right. Anything else, Chief?
No, it's again, the town approached these folks. So there is an interest on the part of the town to have them to town. And they have been operating in Plymouth for many years.
Okay. Are you Andy Driscoll? Would you please come up? Name and your address, please, just for our record.
Sure. My name is Andrew Driscoll and I live on 7 Washington Street in Plymouth, Mass.
Okay. So a very complete packet here, and you've been doing it for a while in Plymouth.
Yeah, we've been running it. We're about to start our 6th season in downtown Plymouth, right on the Town Hall Green.
Okay. All right. And how many, first of all, which side of the common is it going to be on? The Duck Pond side or the other side of the church?
I believe the church side, I'm not super familiar with the area Cohasset reached out to us, so I haven't walked the space yet. I did look at the satellite view and I believe it's the church side. The satellite view showed a tent set up there already, so that's kind of what we were thinking.
Okay. So Chief, do you think that's the church side on the flagpole side or the church
I-
side on the?
I think it's the Duck Pond side. With
The
the
Duck Pond
I
side.
apologize.
Okay. Okay. All right. And it's Saturdays, 1 Saturday a month, except for the
For
14th
the 14th, yes.
of June. How many tents do you have and how many vendors?
So in downtown Plymouth, we have 24 vendors and we set up a tent for live music. I know music was discussed, but I wasn't sure if there was electricity or that'd be a different permit as well. So it would kind of depend on what the space would fit, but I would say somewhere between 20 and 30. So the 10 by 10 pop-up
Okay.
tents that vendors use.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Plex,
None for me, thank you.
Mr. Grady,
No, I have no questions.
Mr. Creighton?
The only question I would have, which would be about entertainment. I believe there is electricity available, but that would require an entertainment.
I assume that would be part of it. Again, once I kind of got approval that this was gonna go forward, I was gonna walk the space, get a better idea, and then apply for that permit. When we do it in Plymouth, we have a solo musician with a guitar and just a speaker for their voice, really. And so it's very more atmospheric. It's not.
I think it's a great idea. A little bit of vibrancy and music. is Good, but you would have to come back on it.
Of course.
Okay. All right, so do I have a motion to approve Inebri? Did I say correct?
Inebriart, yes, yes.
Art LLC to set up arts and crafts on the green on April 12th, May 10th, July 12th, August 9th, September 13th, and October 11th.
So moved.
I have a second, Mr. Plex, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All set.
Thank you.
Yep, so if you do decide you want to get an entertainment license, just contact Tracy
Okay, of
Connors in the town manager's office.
course. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
Next up, Cohasset Road Race by the Sea for Sunday, April 6th, 2025. Is anyone on for that? Nope, okay.
I've been working with Lorraine Tarpey on this, and
Yeah.
it's coming together like past years. It's the standard standing plan, and we ask that you consider it and issue the permit.
Anyone have any questions? No, okay, so can I have a motion to approve the Cohasset Road Race by the Sea for Sunday, April 6th?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Creighton moved it, Mr. Grady seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. South Shore Arts Center Annual Arts Festival, June 9th through June 16th. So there's an event application, a one-day liquor license, and an entertainment license. Is anyone on from the Art Center? No, and again, this is another repeat event, no material changes to the setup or the operation of it, Chief?
Correct. It's again, I've been dealing with Patrice on this. She has a board meeting tonight, so that's why she couldn't be here. But we want to
Okay.
get this permitted sooner than later. This is the standard plan what they've been doing for years and years. The beer tent is back again. The beer area is back again this year. And last year was a great success. It's very, very well run by the people they hire. They fence it off. I'm sure people have seen it, but we're looking for approval on this in the entertainment licenses. I think you have a separate sheet there of a table I created on which licenses are needed for which days. And we will, as the event draws closer, we'll fine tune this. But we ask that the board approve this with final approval pending the public safety chief's okay as we get closer to the event.
Okay. So there's three motions here. So we need to approve the event application for the South Shore Arts Center Arts Festival, June 9th through June 16th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we need to approve a one-day liquor license for the South Shore Arts Center for Thursday, June 12th from 6 to 10 PM on the Common.
That's their gala.
That's their gala.
Yeah,
That's the liquor license application we have.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's the same one as the beer tent.
it's generally just a liquor. Yes, to the best of my knowledge, yes. But they have a like sort of a wine and a beer
Yeah.
thing on
It
Thursday.
says festival preview party.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the one-day liquor license for the South Shore Arts Center for Thursday, June
So
12th?
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then next is an entertainment license. Yes,
So there's a liquor licenses.
okay.
Yeah, so she has one day liquor licenses, she has the preview party, then they have another one on Friday night, they have another one day on Saturday. Sunday, so there's 4 altogether. It should be, it's in the, it should be in the calendar.
Yeah. Okay,
Can we bundle them?
yeah, so,
It's every day, so they have to do 4 different licenses.
so what is the date of that Friday? I don't have my
So
phone.
Friday's the 13th, 1 to 8 p.m.
Okay, so the 13th, 14th, and 15th, right?
Yeah, so 1, 8, 12, 6 Sunday.
Okay. All right, may I have a motion to approve one-day liquor licenses for the South Shore Arts Center for Friday, June 13th, Saturday, June 14th, and Sunday, June 15th?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And now last would be the entertainment license. Tracy, I'm struggling here. Is it
So the entertainment license covers for the whole event.
the whole event? Okay. Have a motion to approve the South Shore Arts Center entertainment license from June 19th through June 16th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you. Okay, thank you, chief.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep. Okay, Affordable Housing Trust current and future projects. Yes, ma'am.
One thing, the state entertainment license, the Sunday licenses.
Oh, the states, okay,
Oh, Tracy.
Sorry.
sorry. So it's all these things you gave me here, correct? Okay, so can I have yes, it is. I wanted to skip over it. Can I, have a motion to approve the Sunday State Entertainment renewals for 2025 for the Red Lion Inn Operating LLC, DBA Red Lion Inn, Corner Stop Eatery, DBA The Corner Stop, RBLB Inc., DBA Lenny's Hideaway, South Shore Playhouse Associates, DBA South Shore Music Circus, George H. Mealy Post Number 118, The American Legion, Celtic Bistro Corporation, DBA Bia Bistro, Cohasset Golf Club, 9 Depot Inc., The Blue Oar, Atlantica Operating LLC, DBA Old Salt House, Noonan's Kitchen 1 LLC, DBA Noonan's Kitchen.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Tracy. Okay, now Affordable Housing Trust, current and future. So we have Mr. Gomer and Mr. Kears.
If the board pleases, I've asked Mr. Kears to appear with me. Paul, as you know, is the chairman of the Affordable Housing Steering Committee. Steering Committee was originally intended and has acted diligently to effectively take on the role as a either advocate or, if you think about it that way, a developer, whereas the trust itself has taken on the role as effectively as the financial partner in any of this. At this point in time, I don't believe we've appeared in front of the board again to bring you up to speed as to where we are. But if I may, I want to turn over to Paul for a moment to summarize what we foresee happening at the 2030 census. And I can come back and identify the numbers of units that we have addressed so far and have had a financial interest in. Next, we want to lay out some additional plans for you based upon that overview. And then finally, I have a separate request. Excuse me, I have a separate request for the Board of Selectmen with respect to membership. So those are the 3 items we'd like to cover. Paul, I hand it off to you.
First of all, happy 255th birthday to the town of Cohasset. It's 2025 now. There's only 5 more years left until the 2030 census, just so everyone knows what we're talking about, right? So the 260th will be upon us pretty soon as well, so start putting parade money together. I am the chairman of the Affordable Housing Steering Committee, which we've been around for, I think, about 6 years or so. We started this committee to basically advocate for affordable housing, specifically to work to get to enough housing to where Chapter 40B 10% of your housing stock or more registration with the state. So we achieved that. We achieved that towards the last minute by finally getting CJC approved with sewer to get the 22 apartments onto the housing stock within about 3 or 4 months before the deadline to get counted in that 2020 census. So because of that, we reached 10.3 on the 40B. So we're basically safe harbor for the next 10 years, which there's 5 years left till the 2030 census. Now, just to give you an idea of where we are in Cohasset, just from taking a look at the census information that's on the town website, the population in Cohasset from 2010 to 2020 grew 11%. And to put that into perspective, every 10 years when they do the census, so from 1970 to 2010, it only grew 2 to 3% every 10 years. So during that period of time, we only averaged 3% growth every 10 years. Not sure what happened between 2010 and 2020, but it grew 11%.
That was 3% annualized or 3% total in that 10-year period?
Each year. So the average growth every 10 years was 3%.
Okay.
Right. And, you know, to get an idea of who's living in Cohasset, 40% of the families in the residents in Cohasset are families with children living at home that are under the age of 18. So that's your school population, right? A high number of 13% of people that are 65 and older that are living at home by themselves. 13% of the residents in town. So everyone else are basically 2 people living at home in Cohasset, right? So that's where we are as far as an overview for the town. Our board, our committee was charged by the select board to look for properties in town that could be developed for affordable housing. There's 2 levels of affordable housing that we call in Cohasset. So there's the big A, which is deed restricted affordable housing that counts towards the 40B housing. And then there's the small A, which are homes that are actually affordable, which you heard a lot about with the preserve, right? So I think you guys have an idea of what's affordable and what isn't. So what we've been doing is our first, 3 or 4 years were geared towards, getting over that 10% with 40B. So we've done that. So now we've been actively working with developers on their properties, such as CJC. We worked with One Pleasant Street for quite some time. And we had 14 units that were going to be put towards our housing stock. But the planning board voted to change it from apartments to condominiums. So with that change, we only have 4 units instead of 14 that are now deed restricted. So we lost 10 units in that transaction. We have a couple of small projects like 808 Jerusalem Road, which is the Habitat for Humanity. Those are 2 units there, which will be on our housing stock as well. We have a gentleman who, out of the goodness of his heart, on South Main Street across from St. Anthony's, the garage that burnt down, there's 3 apartments over there. And he's working with the trust right now to deed one of those as affordable, which you need 4 or more units is what our bylaws say. But he only has 3, but he said he would do that in order to get some affordable housing.
So it increased it from 3 to 4?
No, it would
He's staying
actually,
at 3.
it would count all 3 units as part of the SHI. It would provide a single unit.
Oh, okay.
So all
That's
3
enough to count all of them.
Right.
Okay.
So that's going to take about a year, that process to go through. So that he's working with the trust on that. So they're supporting him with various consultants to help him work through that process. We haven't had too many other big projects come our way. There was a development that we looked at for about a year and a half or so at the end of North Main Street across from the train station. There was a gentleman who came in and wanted to put in about 25 units. They had the issue, it came in front of the select board, there was an issue with zoning. And they thought that they could put that into this whole MBTA zoning piece, but that was something that was not able to be done. So we're not sure that'll happen. So what we have done is we decided to take a look at town-owned property. So land that the town owns that could possibly have an opportunity for development.
Before you go there, at this point, I'd like to just interject and add some context from the perspective of the trust. You've heard of a few of the projects. Obviously, you're aware of 808 Jerusalem, in which a piece of property that the town had taken in a tax taking was actually or is in the process of being returned to the tax rolls, with 2 units which will be sold to individuals qualifying for affordable housing. That's it's the first project, not yet complete, but it's the first project the trust took on by taking in the property, donating the property and an additional $80,000 to Habitat for Humanity to move it along. It also proved the concept to us that the thing that is most required to generate interest in creating affordable housing is a place to build it and some cash to put behind it. 174 South Main Street landed in our laps. The developer, we were stunned when it was brought forward by Paul's committee. The developer brought this forward on his own and simply asked us for some subsidy status. We reached an agreement for a total of $15,000, a very nominal sum based upon what was at hand. So that will be a bonus. In about, I don't know, 6 months after that, we were approached by Habitat for Humanity, who had right of first refusal for the purchase of a single unit on South Main Street. I'm sorry, Elm Street, 43 Elm. The trust voted to buy it and made our biggest single mistake to date, as Paul Grady can attest, in attempting to GC the renovations on our own. It's taken a while. We do have the certificate of occupancy now. And as far as I know, the marketing process will start for that this week. I give you that overview because the trust started with no dollars and no projects. We were fortunate enough to have a very energetic steering committee to bring us the projects. And we were also fortunate enough to have the generosity of the then select board advocating for the gift of 808 Jerusalem into the trust so that we could start a project. That was a plus. And then separately, CPC became a funding agent on 2 separate occasions. We've asked for no more funds from them. The town also granted us 2 additional parcels, one off Heather Drive, which was it was speculative as to whether or not it could be built upon, and that speculation unfortunately got an awful lot of volume by representatives in town, which diminished its value. Nonetheless, it did sell, and it sold to an abutter. So the town benefits because the property's back on the tax rolls. The trust benefits because it generated revenues for the trust. Frankly, we look at that as a bonus. Being good stewards of property doesn't just mean putting together housing if it doesn't fit in that property. It also can mean generating funds so that we can do projects where they do the most amount of good, and at the same time return otherwise moribund parcels, which generate nothing but for the town but a headache, back to the tax rolls. Last but not least, if I can just give you a summary, the endeavors up to this point by the steering committee and the trust have placed 32 units from over the 6 years in this subsidized housing inventory. That doesn't mean 32 units to live in. That means 32 units that qualify for the census. However, it's worth noting that we do have, through the generosity of, as I said, the developer on at 174 South Main, a note in town that I've seen repeated out of the owner of 390 CJC, who just added 3 deed restrictions to his unit base at no request of our own, but because he believes it's necessary. By the way, those 3 additional units do not add to the SHI. So that's 26 units in total. 32 units in total. It had been 42 until the developer at One Pleasant asked to go condo. So we're back down to 32. Where that leaves us is, frankly, looking down the road 5 years and not likely making the census. In the meantime, the trust now has $1.3 million to its name. We've expended over the past 6 years some $280,000 between purchase property, renovation of property, and administrative expenses. We've been fortunate not to have to dig into our pockets much more deeply than that. We probably will realize a small financial gain when 43 Elm Street returns to the marketplace. So the trust will ideally still have more funds, which is a key element to enticing anybody, whether or not they're a for-profit developer or a nonprofit developer, to come in and partner with us to build units. But let's be frank with one another. We need units. And the reason for doing this is not to live in fear of the state or 40B, but rather to manage our own destiny. If we in fact truly recognize that there is a value to welcoming all kinds and all socioeconomic strata here in town, and affording those folks a place to live as well, then wouldn't it be best if we could do so in a way that integrated all of that into the community rather than forced a development over which we have generally little control? That was the basis for putting together the structure that sits before you now. And so with that, the steering committee has been spending a fair amount of their time thinking deeply about where we might create future development. This is their area. And for that, I'm going to hand it back to Paul to discuss in greater depth.
Quick question. Do we know how many units we're going to need in 5 years? What's our?
It's a dartboard. A quick answer is probably in the neighborhood of 20 to 25, but Paul, you might have a better handle on that than
Yeah,
me.
so it's, it depends on how many homes are built,
Right.
right? So,
From
More
here,
homes get
from
built.
here forward,
the
right?
Number.
Yeah, so,
it's actually dwelling units. It's not just homes,
correct.
right?
Right,
So-
yeah.
So, a couple of things, to answer that question, it's really based on what is going to happen in the future. When the master planning group was alive, they were projecting something like 11 to 12 homes being built per year, which 2030 was going to be unachievable. But that hasn't materialized. That's just kind of a hypothesis of what they thought could be done at the time. So that goes back to 2018, 2017. We can go back to the town and find out how many homes were actually built as opposed to being remodeled. But one point I want to bring up is that what's very exciting for us, and I think it's very important for the select board to recognize as well, is that when we started out, a lot of people just wanted us to get to 40B and kind of be done with it, right? That way their contractors can't come in and bypass planning. And what we hobbled together in 5 years was working with Mass Housing to understand what it is we needed to do, which we had several meetings with. I pushed forward to buy the property at Elm Street that they were selling. And I worked very well with Chris Senior. We were kind of, the bid had already gone out, so we were kind of late to the prom, but that experience taught us we had to have a trust, because without a trust, you have to wait for town meetings to allocate funds. So the first thing we did was we set out to put in at least $5,000. I said to Chris, just put something in the trust so it's alive. So he worked very hard to get the funding into the trust, and then we realized there was a trust back in the day in the 80s.
Yeah, that's what I was, because I was actually.
Yeah, so
involved
it
with
was,
We already had the trust, all we had to just put some money in.
but it was so dormant. In fact,
Yeah.
there was one trustee left who it took 4 months to find in order for him to sign over the trust to the new trust. So once we did that, we worked with the select board to help identify what it is we needed to do. And Chris Senior was there every step of the way, helping us figure out what we can do. And we finally got a transaction under our belts by, getting 808 Jerusalem turned over from the town to the trust, which that was a great experience. That went pretty well. Where we really learned a lot was acquiring Heather Drive and Mill Lane. Because as you all know, you have to go to town meeting. And we went to town meeting, and all of a sudden we heard from more residents than live on any of these streets. So it was a really good learning experience, and we stuck with it. Stuck with the hard times and the good times. And as you can see, in 5 years, we've had great results, a lot of hard work. So what we're here to do tonight is to give you an idea of there's two specific areas of property that the town owns. And what we're looking to do is let you know that we're looking at these three properties to see if they are buildable. And if they are buildable, then we would start to move to the next steps. The first one is 585 CJC. 585 CJC is on the corner of Pond Street and 3A. And
Property.
The old,
Esposito
yeah, right.
landscape. Now,
And we'd already owned that, right?
correct.
Yes, that was bought in 2017, I believe.
Steve was a select board member at the time where they acquired the property for somewhere around $500,000.
Wetlands issues where it looked like a wetland, but we looked at it, it really isn't.
Yeah, there was, at the time, there was consideration that it might be a suitable spot for a new fire building, fire department.
Yeah, so it was purchased with the intent of putting some sort of facility there, municipal facility there. So this is just this is kind of the window dressing, right? So there's 4 properties here, property on the right and property on the left. Your right or my left. These are already owned by town conservation. There are 2 different groups that own it. We're talking about the ones in the middle. There's one large one here and there's one small one here. So to put water on my parade, this is not to scale, but this is a wetlands overlay of the property. And the gray areas are buildable. And in fact, on the Esposito property, there's a fully operational septic system that's already there. And the building that's there has a restroom in it. So it had already been approved for septic. Septic works fine. It's in good working order. So that is already in place. So we know that it could be on septic. So what we're going to do, what we would like to do is have the trust take the next step to see what is possible. Is there too many wetlands and we can't do anything at all? Or do we have an opportunity in one of these 2 places to be able to do something? So the fly in the ointment for us is that I understand that the select board needs to trade property for the cell tower that's going at Wheelwright to have an equivalent amount of property given to conservation somewhere else in town. So I was told you were looking at 585.
Well, it's actually more than total. It's been approved by the state legislature. So we're still trying to finalize what the site is. But a piece of this property is going to be permanently dedicated to allow that Wheelwright Park cell tower to go in.
Right, so you would trade the land.
The state approved that this was a formal petition supported by town meeting and went to the state and it's been approved. We just haven't finalized what the actual parcel piece of
Okay.
of that.
Okay, so
Remember, Peppermint Brook also runs through that. That runs right into the town's living totally pond, so there's some sensitive areas there, so.
okay. So what we would like to do is we'd like to look at the property to see if you can do both, right? There appears to be enough property to do both. But that's what we would like to do. But we don't want to step on any toes if this is going to cause an issue.
So this is, you would swap this issue that's here on the Esposito property for affordable housing
Plus the lot behind it.
plus the lot behind it. This would balance off the conservation for the cell tower,
Correct.
because in addition, you'll be picking up conservation land here.
It's
No,
already
okay,
owned.
that's what I'm.
Yeah, no, we're not touching the conservation is.
No, but that would be deeded to the town and that'd be, in other words, be the replacement conservation. That's what I'm getting at.
Right, so so when you put up the cell tower, if you're using 100 square feet.
Yeah.
You have to give conservation 100 square feet somewhere else in town.
Yeah.
Right. And right now, the home rule petition, right, is for that property, but we don't know what lot.
Right, we have to carve out roughly up to 2 acres. So we're
Up to
trying
2 acres?
it's been approved up to 2 acres, trying to shrink that
Okay,
footprint down. There's still another site visit that has to happen when the weather warms up.
okay,
And then an application to conservation for the wheelwright parcel, then we have to define and value it, and literally have an appraisal of the potential swap land. So the state will be good.
so we'll
If that hasn't been defined, that's not yet been defined.
The Esposito property is roughly, but I thought it was about 10 acres, isn't it back there that
It's
he
about
bought?
7,
Maybe.
6 or
So it's supposed to be about 7 acres.
Yeah.
I thought it was 10 from Wendy.
Right, makes the lot behind it bigger unless both those lots are the Esposito lots.
Yeah, they're both are.
Yeah.
Okay, so
The
the
town
total,
both-
the total is 7 acres.
Yeah, I think it's about 7 acres.
So if you need 2, I'll give you the wetlands.
That's
Again, it's still.
perfect
be
for conservation.
fun.
Well, that's what I'm trying to
That's-
understand, whether
What yeah.
can count for what we have to do up for the cell tower.
Well, I think what the steering committee has identified is that there's a possibility of achieving both goals.
Yeah.
Now, we are coming to you jointly to ask for the selectmen's consideration of support for examining parcels that the town currently owns for potential development of affordable housing. If that seems like a fairly convoluted statement, it's not. We're asking you for your prospective support such that if it were logical to approach these parcels for development of affordable housing, at that point, the trust would feel comfortable expending funds for necessary studies, whether or not that be for engineering or wetlands, wetlands identification, et cetera. But we're not going to move forward. The trust is executing a fiduciary duty in retaining funds until such time as we understand that there's a real possibility that the select board might support it. Recognizing that anything you support still has to go to town meeting for transfer.
So you're asking whether the select board will kind of approve the concept and support the concept.
Exactly. It's a
Well,
concept.
I'd make that motion all day long.
Well, we appreciate it, but I understand you have questions. We're not asking, and forgive me, I don't want to pull it
No,
off the
no.
table. We're not asking for your approval tonight. We'll come back. But we want to make sure that that the proposal is in front of you such that you can give it due consideration once you understand what parcels we're looking at as well. Sorry, Mr. Flex.
No, thank you for all the information. The request that you just made about select board support for looking at town properties, are you asking specific to 585 CJC or more broadly throughout?
My partner here will continue on.
So there are other properties in the town, and what I'm approaching this is trying to find the small lots first that are achievable, right?
Let it rip, Paul. We have lots.
There is a big swath of land that I've got my eye on, but that's going to take some conversation before we make that public. But there are two specific parcels of land that I think are perfect for housing. Remember when we talked about affordable housing, it could be simple, single-family homes that are deed restricted and put into a regular neighborhood. So those are the types of things that we're looking at now. I don't have the specific address for the next two. One of them I need to confirm to see if anyone else is using the property, but there is one large piece of property that has access from 3A that is behind Stop and Shop. And then there is about 7 acres behind the Osgood and Deer Hill School. And that abuts the neighborhood up on Veterans Hill. There's a lane called Evergreen Lane that you're familiar with that comes to basically a dead end. So they had stopped building homes and moving forward. So that's an area that we'd like to look at as well. So there's two areas that are potential for that. Now, I know the town had looked into continuing Evergreen Road to connect to Deer Hill for safety purposes of getting to the schools, fire and police. I don't have access to that study, but that's something they had done quite some time ago when they went to go build the new Osgood School.
It used to be drivable. There used to be a cleared path.
Right.
Really?
Evergreen, yeah.
Yeah,
Came out behind the backstop, the old backstop at Deer Hill.
right. So,
A lot of wetlands back there.
well, I'm going to show you the wetlands, and I've highlighted in yellow some of the areas that I was talking about. This is the Osgood School here. There's the end of Evergreen here. This is about 7 acres or so, I think, including the wetlands here.
Are you talking about above the music circus?
No,
No,
this is right behind the Osgood and Deer Hill School,
Up on the hill.
up on
up on the hill.
by where I live, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the one on 3A right here, and I've got to find out if,
Stop and Shop in Red Fox Lane.
so here's Stop and Shop. This is the new building for CJC right here.
Yep.
This is the Cook Estates.
Yep.
And here's the Deer Hill and the Osgood. So Evergreen is here.
Red Fox is this one or this one?
Yeah, you had mentioned a property that had 3A access
This
before.
one right here.
Okay,
Yeah, Red Fox is here.
yeah, okay.
So this is closer to the Stop and Shop. So you can pass that around and you can see that property there.
So the request for the select board is to enter into conversations with and amongst yourselves as well as the steering committee. If those conversations are favorable in supporting the examination of the properties, then at that point, based upon your action, the trust would be ready to start to expend funds if necessary for the purpose of frankly laying the groundwork for development.
Could you present these in order of your priority, 585?
Yes.
Okay, so that's. priority one.
585 has septic.
Yeah.
Right, so it's buildable right now. So that's kind of an easy.
Parcel behind Stop and Shop.
Property behind Stop and Shop, you know, I'd have to find out from the building inspector what he perceives that property to be, if it's buildable or not, or what the actual dimensions are, because this is, I'm not going to say it's to scale, but it's kind of to scale for people to understand the top of view of where we are. The upside to the second round is everything is on sewer already up there. So all of that has the potential to be put onto sewer, so you wouldn't have to worry about septic.
Run it over towards Stop and Shop, that area.
No, all the homes right now are gravity down the hill down.
On the Red Fox?
No, Red Fox is 3A. He would be connected to 3A sewer.
Yeah, that's what.
Evergreen would be connected gravity downhill. There's a pumping station. Cook Estates is hooked up to the Deer Hill. They don't go to Stop and Shop. So the Deer Hill School has a pumping station up there for sewer, and then it's gravity down Pleasant Street to the sewer facility.
So how many units were you thinking, or you're not even at the stage yet, 585, you're not even at that stage?
Not even at that stage, because, you know, like I said, the first step would go to the building inspector to say, hey, what would be an opportunity for these properties? And he could say, water table under there, you can't build on it. He could say it's too close to wetlands. He could say it's fine. You might be able to get 2 or 3 homes there. We don't know.
Okay.
So that's what that would be. That would be the first step, is to kind of work with him to find out what is buildable. We want to pass that down.
Well, that's okay. I was just looking at my colleagues and, so I see what.
Outside of constructing new units, our best bet is to offer to, frankly, buy existing. And that's a very short-lived game. So we need to be looking at creating housing as well as just being able to acquire it where it is tactically capable, we're tactically capable of doing it. All right, and this is, I will not tell you that it's an easy task. We're learning as we go. Even though from the trust point of view, we have had a great fortune of membership with intellect and learning capabilities along the way. The fact of the matter is that this is a very highly regulated arena. And, you know, thank heavens that we've got the steering committee to pull us off a cliff from time to time.
You looked into,
Psychiatry.
you may a little be familiar with conservation easements, which are a deductible strategy. So somebody could say that you could buy the easement, and that there's effectively a way that could be tax advantaged. Have you looked into that at all?
Yeah, we have. Realistically, I would simply pose it to each of you on a personal level. How would you like to pull in a good, I don't know, $150,000 to let me put a deed restriction on your house?
No.
No, that's right. The value of your property here, actually the value of the land underneath, is incredibly high, right? And I once talked to a gentleman who has a 5-acre stretch, now no longer with us, along Atlantic Avenue. And once he was declared to be in the VE zone, I said, what are you going to do? How are you ever going to insure it? He said, insure it. Forget it. Let it blow down in the next storm. The land is worth so much more than the house could ever be. I thought, oh my gosh, of course he's right. And that's where we are. The two things that restrict development in this town are land and wastewater, right? So that's where we are. as a community. We've got to face those facts. Paul and his committee have been very staunch allies in helping us to identify where our opportunities are. And frankly, our opportunities now are in finding ways to acquire developable parcels. The only way we're going to be able to acquire those, frankly, with the modest sums that we have, is if someone gives it to us, someone who owns it decides that they want to do a development that would include affordable housing, or we look at town properties that are currently not on the tax rolls and really producing no particular benefit for the town, and help them to produce that benefit, compliance with 40B, and returning those parcels to the tax rolls. That's where we sit now, and that's why we're coming before you and saying, we respectfully ask for your consideration. We're not asking you for an answer or a vote tonight, but we will be coming back for that, recognizing that this is the point in time where we need to be if we're going to make it to annual town meeting for that request.
Right.
Steve, I'd be willing to make that motion,
I just want to,
but I just want to, how would you phrase that?
I think that forgive me for saying this, that's your job.
It's our job, yeah.
That's your job.
Yeah, I'd like.
I just wanted to give you one more thing to just to think about. Because when we talk about affordable housing, you know, people get their feathers up because they think it's Section 8 housing, right? So it's kind of something that you have to get people's mind in the right spot. So there are a couple of areas in the state system that address the small A, and one of them is called 40R, which is they're smaller homes, and they're restricted by the state. I'm gonna quote something like 800 to 1,200 square foot homes or something like that. They may have moved it to 900 to 1,300 square foot homes, and planning could, you know, restrict, you know, the size of the homes that are built, which is something we prefer, so that they couldn't buy something and then make it, you know, Dorchester by the Sea, you know, and have these big tall buildings behind somebody else's house, right? So there's a lot of areas that the state is helpful in. There's workforce housing, which are tax credit as well, along with the 40R housing, along with the big A, which is deed restricted property. And we're looking for the small A as well, which is something that's affordable that people can move in, convert this town property to taxable property, right, for revenue. So that's kind of the bonus to allowing people to afford a house in town. So those are all there. And one group that we worked with, and I had worked with Michelle Leary and Chris Senior on a group called NeighborWorks. And we went to NeighborWorks a number of times to get their advice. They are a nonprofit that does affordable housing in the state, specifically the South Shore. Steve Gomer, myself, and a former select board member had a meeting at what's called the Watson, which is at the Quincy Shipyard. They took the old headquarters for General Dynamics and converted that into basically affordable housing. So a third of it is market rate, a third of it is workforce housing, and a third of it is affordable housing. And what sold out first was all of the workforce housing, because workforce housing is controlled just like affordable housing in the state, where you have your income of a couple calculated against the median income of the area. So it allows you to get in for workforce housing, right? So they want people to get in, work in the community, that type of stuff. So they've given us.
That at one place, they got shot down by 10 votes.
That's right. So we work with NeighborWorks,
I'll be honest.
and NeighborWorks did. They helped us out with that. They gave us a lot of advice on if the town were to own it, you know, and they had apartments, how that would work, how you would go about doing it. So they gave us advice on, 90% of the towns condoize it first. So at the end of the day, that's exactly what happened, right? It became a condo because you can break it into pieces and kind of divest yourself from being a landlord. So there's a lot of groups like NeighborWorks that will give us help. I first went to them because one area that I don't have here is that the town owns an acre of land behind the Red Lion Inn. And what I wanted to do was put veterans housing there. The folks at NeighborWorks did a great job with veterans housing in Norwell. And Jack and I talked about it at the time you were on the board, is that the rec center is there. And I said, wouldn't it be nice if we took the cinder block and made that part of a larger unit, right? Break some of that ledge down and put in veterans housing and also have them remodel our rec center. And what NeighborWorks does is they run that property for you. And they control the tenants and they do the upkeep and all of that. So they become like a landlord. So that was kind of the bonus for getting those guys involved. So there's areas to do that. You could do veterans housing like that. So when we talk about, affordable housing, we're talking about all of that is on the table, depending on if the property best fits the need. We're not going to try and push something in there.
Flex, do you have any comments or questions?
I'm generally supportive. I'm very curious about, you made the comment that we're not sure why development at the end of Evergreen Lane stopped. So that would be a question of mine, but it sounds like something that you're already thinking of exploring. So generally the concepts make sense. I'm very curious about that. And the other question I have that it sounds like you're still working through is, if you were to do something that would achieve the 25 to 35, how would you structure that with the resources you have at the trust, which I'm sure is an open question of yours.
Conceptually, we can answer it, but it's conceptual only. First of all, we'd be looking to take general plans and go out to RFP, right? And at that point, we're frankly fishing. If you're fishing, something's going to be on the hook. And typically what that means for development is subsidy stacking, right? Possibly it's covering a portion or specific soft costs. The developer's going to love that because they don't have to sink that on their own. There are a number of other ways to stack subsidies in there such that you're encouraging either a for-profit or a not-for-profit developer to come in and effectively take over the project, because what the trust donates at that point and what the steering committee donates at that point is a lot of the advanced work, possibly the pre-sold or pre-represented, the intended development to different review boards, planning boards, selectmen, et cetera. And the fact that it's the project as proposed is a locally sourced one can often smooth at least the initial introduction of the project into the community. Right? It's so much better than being an outside force saying, I want to do this. Well, among the things, Chris, that we have found stubbing our toes over the last 6 years is that you can't communicate enough. There's no such thing as over communication. And by communication, it doesn't mean wagging your finger and telling people. It often means listening and listening to them express concerns or fears or worse. Because in many cases, the fact that someone's building next to you, it doesn't matter whether it's big A affordable housing, little A affordable housing, or a house that's bigger than your own. What matters to them is that something's changing and they need to understand what it is and how it affects them. That is a lesson we've learned in spades. And nonetheless, even though the town is required, it's one of the very few things that the state requires us to do other than turn in our financials. And we even got around that for several years. It's one of the things that we can't get around, nor can any other community. So we've got to take the initiative, make the effort, and we might as well do it on our terms rather than those that are presented to us. So.
Well, having working in lockstep with Steve and trust in the community do really good things. A couple of things are important to me. That Cohasset does maintain our sovereignty. That is very important. I think it is. And secondly, I would be in favor of, supporting, going out, looking, finding viable properties. I would only encourage that, not that you won't, is that we stay within even some of the new zoning laws. Again, like you mentioned, what just set a bell ringing in my head was the acre behind Red Line, for instance. It's all ledge. We have to observe that. That means not blasting, moving exposed ledge. And I don't want to see ways around that, but I would be in fully support because as I said, our sovereignty is important. No going around that. We don't want something jammed down our throats at a spot that none of us have any control over. That's a given. And I think the trust is doing fantastic work. So I would be in support of, you know, letting you guys, spread your wings. I just ask that we just maintain it, you know, our bylaws, and I know you're gonna do that anyway.
Right.
I'm just putting it out there when I heard ledge. So I have to
Right.
say that
Yeah,
by way.
We have a lot of new,
There are some nuances,
a lot of
some
reading, a
obstacles.
lot of more reading to do than we did last year. Yeah, so we completely understand all that. That's why I'm not even, taking the 1 acre and putting it on here. That was just a perfect veterans play for me as a veteran to say, hey, we have veterans housing in town, because I looked at Elm Street when the housing authority was selling Elm Street in order to pay for the renovations of the existing properties that they had. We looked to buy that. It went for 600,000.
Well, so for me, as
We were going to make that
member, I'm
veterans
offering my
housing,
support.
so, so there's that opportunity there. So, I'm well aware of all of the new zoning laws and keeping it looking nice and clean the way it should. And that's fine, because that's what the trust's job is to do, is to go out and investigate based on town bylaws. Can we do something with this property?
Well, I do think at some point, Paul, that Cohasset, if we haven't really already, we've kind of reached our carrying capacity. I know we have land. And when you talk about the explosion growth, we've seen some of the building we all have throughout town. Some of it great, some of it maybe not so, depending on opinion. That's but people are allowed to do what they're allowed to do. But I think we are reaching a point where that just by geography is going to start to slow down. But I just want to.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. So there's an opportunity for at least 2 Avalons in town on private property right now, for the fact that there's no sewer. They would have to go on a similar septic system. So, and those 2 properties are large. One's 10 or 12 acres and the other one's about 12 or 14 acres that could be developed into that. And that's on the other side of Beechwood. That's not in the MBTA zoning area.
And I'll throw us right over the top by a
Yeah.
city mile. I agree with you. So that's why I'm saying.
2030 comes along and all of a sudden, somebody says, hey, I think, I sat on this property long enough. I want to sell it, retire and sell it to a developer. Then now we're in trouble, right? Because if we don't have 40B protection, you're going to see something that.
As I said, this board member offers his support.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of questions. So on 585 CJC, now knowing what the town is committed to in terms of the land swap with, for the cell tower in Wheelwright Park, I don't know how much energy and effort you want to expend on that until we have final resolution on exactly what that is, what that swap is, but that's up to you.
Okay, but here's what I will say about that is, if we don't move forward with that property, the town is going to have to pay to decommission the septic system and take down the building that's there.
Okay.
So they definitely have to do that.
Yeah. Yep, and I concur with Mr. Senior that Peppermint Brook does run through there, because we did look at it for school bus parking.
It actually, Peppermint Brook is the hidden brook, because the reason CJC had a problem, outside of the ones we know about, he was sitting on Peppermint Brook, right? And it goes underground all the way down. It kind of follows down to King. And so it is under that property. Fred Cohen is on our committee now as the housing representative, and Fred has been in town for 100 years or so and conservation, select board, water commissioner. So he gave us a lot of great insight on there, but until we identify exactly where that is, which may already be identified in the wetland section, we still have buildable lots, right? So.
Okay. So,
There is no parcel in this town that doesn't have some hair on it.
right. So, Chris, if we were to make a motion to support the next step for the steering committee in investigating these 3 parcels that they discussed, it's not binding, is it? For us? In the sense that we're committed to it.
No, all you're doing is saying explore, you're not saying.
Okay,
Improve.
okay. I just want to make sure. So,
If that's what you're saying, then that's your intent, is that we're just supporting the exploration, we're not supporting any actual.
okay. Okay, is that sufficient for your purposes?
Steering committee's call.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Okay, so I'd like a motion to support the steering committee's exploration of the 3 parcels they outlined, 585 CJC, 1 acre parcel off of 3A, and the parcel at the end of Evergreen Lane abutting up to
So moved.
Deer Hill.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the only thing, Chris, I might know, Chris Plex, is 10 years ago, we, when I was on the school committee, we made the path that's at the top of Pleasant Street wide enough for emergency vehicles. So maybe that's why any emergency egress at the end of Evergreen Lane was stopped. I don't ever remember conversation about it in that hood since 1966, but I wasn't paying attention, I guess.
Yeah, there's been, in the whole town hall conversations, they identified areas in town where they could put a town hall.
Yeah.
And they were looking at putting a road, in between these. I believe that would connect to Pleasant eventually, but right in through here, from Sawyer, right in between the 2 schools. They were looking at putting a safety road in through here and putting the town hall up here.
Right. Would have gone in the back way. I remember that in the development of Deer Hill.
And they also, behind the high school is 5 acres. But there's a special tree up there and some habitat, that they looked at building, where the water tower is up there. So there's 5 acres up there that the town owns, that they looked at putting something there.
Town Hall Committee looked
Yeah,
there, yeah.
yeah. So
Goldrick was on.
we didn't look at it as affordable housing because there were some conservation restrictions for that. I don't know what exactly they were. It's behind the soccer field
It's behind.
and reservoir.
Yeah.
Behind one reservoir, you go up behind one reservoir.
Yeah, there's an
house.
access point.
Yeah,
And then there used to be a path from the water tower all the way back down to behind Milliken, the tennis
Correct.
courts.
correct. So that's property we could look
Parcel.
at as well, but I don't know to what extent that they researched it and found it was not something they were gonna
It
pursue.
was access. The schools didn't want to carve up the hill
Okay,
to get up there, and the neighborhood didn't want.
right.
Oh.
So those are the areas we looked at. So
Okay.
Thank you for your support. We have one last item. The trust has one last item.
Okay.
Where the trust is by bylaw, seven members serving 2-year terms. One of those members is an appointee from the select board, the other 6 are at large. We are going to lose 3. We have 2 that have already stated that they would like to resign, but they've been kind enough to stay on because without them, we don't have a quorum. 3rd will term out. We need membership, and the membership is appointed by the select board. So I ask each of you to take this seriously because we will lose 1 by March. We have difficulty on occasion making quorum. And even though it's the best way I know how to put it is a highly functional group, the fact is that there are busy lives, and when you're down a member or then down 2 and suddenly you've got scheduling conflicts, it makes it difficult. Over the past 12 months, we've had 3 meetings where we couldn't pull quorum. And that slows everything down. And so it's critical that we have full membership. And so I respectfully request that the select board consider applications that may have come in, poll interest, take a look at the people who may have expressed an interest in serving the town. This is a role that has a direct impact on the community itself, quality of life. And frankly, what you achieve is visible for many decades to come. So we appreciate your assistance here. All right.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay. All right, next up, request for police details for the district elections, Saturday, January 25th at the Deer Hill School, and the annual town election, Saturday, May 17th at the Deer Hill School. It's pretty perfunctory, isn't it, Chris? So we just need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Select board goal highlights. So this is just a recap. I emailed it and it was in the packet of our workshop last week. And so I'm just going to go through it quickly. It's not really.
Make a brief comment. Just brief. I just
Okay.
want to say, I was sorry I was unable to attend. I'm very active in my local church and they're replacing the minister and they're restructuring. And it was a very crucial church council meeting, which is why I was not here. I was faced with God versus state and I went with God. But I apologize to the other board and thank you for all the good work that you did.
Okay. All right. So we reviewed our goals. So 41 Highland Ave, the working group was formed and has met several times. Council has affirmed that a lease arrangement with the cultural group serves the best interests of the town. Review of all town buildings has been done to ascertain where staff may reside. Since 41 Highland Ave doesn't have enough space, facilities will or is moving to the former teen center in the town parking lot. Building and inspections could be housed at 62 Elm Street upon completion of the work. Ongoing strategies continue. Punch list of repairs has been assembled, including installation of the fire suppression system, new windows, completing electrical upgrades, flooring, and HVAC design for approval at town meeting. And these repairs are a priority for the select board. 135 King Street, the working group is assembled and is meeting regularly. Budget numbers should be available mid-spring. Current rental income is being deposited into a facility fund for future maintenance of this building. Cohasset Asset Management Facilities Director Nick Barati has inventoried all town facilities with the use of a software program that catalogs make, model, year of all mechanicals and provides data for long-term capital needs. Open Space and Recreation, we received the OSR update on September 4th, 2024. Beechwood Playground completed. A grand neighborhood ribbon cutting. Milliken tennis courts will be completed this spring, also with a ribbon cutting. The issue regarding location of the lacrosse hall has been resolved and installation will commence. The next phase of recreational projects was discussed. And pickleball courts will be part of our FY26 goal. The board is still in discussion regarding additional water filling stations around town. Boards and committees, multiple positions, as we just heard tonight, are open this spring, and we need to develop an outreach program in support of the efforts of town hall. Zoning bylaw reform is completed, and the Village Historic District will be coming February 4th on our agenda to present their proposal. And then environmental issues, quarterly testing is done by the Water Department for PFAS. The MWRA feasibility study is forthcoming this spring for viability of connecting to the MWRA water source. The board heard from the Harbor Committee on December 3rd and was briefed on the results of the study and the vulnerabilities that the harbor area has pursuant to flooding. So I think we're on pretty good track with our goals for this year. And we kind of laid some groundwork for the goals, beginning of the goals for next year. So town manager update.
Just a quick follow-up on the tennis court. So there's a work hold at the moment on the staircase because of the cold. They can't pour the concrete. Once that warms a little bit, and they get days back over freezing, they'll be able to finish the work on the stairs. But the main courts are done. They're just curing, and they will be ready for the spring season. They won't be. They'll only be temporarily locked. They want the fancy permanent, nice blue and white, but they'll be playable, so. Michelle's been working with the athletic staff to make sure that they're all set, so the courts will be played. We maybe wait on a formal ribbon cutting until it looks all pretty, but hopefully it'll get warm enough in the spring, because it takes about 10 days to lay it and cure it once they put that coating. So hopefully we'll come early and we'll get that done soon. Just to remind everybody that the South Shore VOTEC vote on the proposed new school project takes place this Saturday, June 25th. 5 here at Deer Hill, and it's at other locations in every community. So if you have any questions about that project, there's plenty of information on the town's website.
Thank you. Yeah, there's been some positive commentary on South Shore VOTEC on online about the vote.
And it's just so people understand, it's a cumulative total of all the communities. It's not any one community. So it'll be the total votes that are cast. Michelle, I and David Farag are going to be attending MMA Thrift Doing Connect on Friday. So we'll be in for that. There's some programming. And we're looking to work the trade show and look at some products that are out there. There's always going to opportunity to see software vendors and other service vendors. So that'll be great. And one quick update that Megan James asked me to pass along. The town is going to be kicking off for staff something we're calling the biggest winner. It'll be a fitness competition. That'll be department versus department, for example, town hall, fire, police, schools, community services, and they'll be competing in various things. So it's not weight loss per se, it's fitness goals. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this works. I think Berardi was quite a fitness guy. He's not working facilities. He's been behind the scenes working. So it should be fun. So we're gonna have a nice fun wellness competition for the spring for staff. I'm actually kicking off, I think, in a couple of weeks. That's my way.
Great, thank you. So next select board comments, Mr. Plex,
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Mr. Grady,
No, I'm good tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Creighton.
I'm good tonight, thank you.
Am I, so we'll move on to approval of minutes. Minutes in our packet of January 7th, 2025. I'm sure everyone's reviewed them. Any comments or questions? Nope. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 7th, 2025?
So
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I should have said this out before in select board comments. So I've been working on future agendas with Chris, and we're gonna have a lot coming at us in the next couple of months in terms of budget review. We've gotten an overview of capital so far. There'll be more in-depth on capital. We start in March with meetings every Tuesday. So it's gonna get pretty intense getting ready for the warrant and town meeting, because it's in May, not June. So I'd just like everyone to understand that we're gonna have pretty full agendas. Okay, motion to adjourn at
Motion to adjourn.
8:24 PM. Mr. Creighton made the motion, Mr. Grady seconded the motion. Thank you. Good night. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.